Hello, I'm Natasha Hussein, and this is Newsfeed, your dose of what people are talking about online. Taylor Swift is making headlines again, but this time the discussion is not about the charts or her upcoming album. It's the superstar's travel habits. Swift lawyers have sent a cease and desist letter to Jack Sweeney, a college student who tracks the private jets of celebrities to raise awareness on their carbon emissions. The letter became public when it was posted online just a few days ago. In it, her legal team argued Sweeney's posts about the flight data of Taylor's jet is tipping off stalkers and causing her direct and irreparable harm. The college student, however, maintains that all of his posts are based on publicly available data, and this is an attempt to scare him. Now, if all of this sounds a little bit familiar, that's because Sweeney had infuriated Elon Musk with his account at ElonJet. That was back in 2022 on the platform previously known as Twitter.
Attempt at scaring people to stop criticizing her. If she's really fearful and this is causing her emotional distress, then she would stop using her plane and then just fly commercial, which she knows she can. If she's going to send this singular person a cease and desist, she's going to have to send one to half her fan base because they always track her jets all the time. Everyone has been talking about her CO2 emissions from her jet for almost a year now. They're talking about it especially since she's using it to go back and forth between her tour and to go see Travis on Super Bowl Sunday. She doesn't want to be critiqued. And this is a way of posing field of people of criticizing her when it comes to her billionaire antics.
I think this has less to do with Taylor Swift feeling unsafe and more to do with the fact that she doesn't want us to talk about her carbon emissions. Taylor Swift emits 14 times as much carbon as the average American household, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration. With all this information, it just seems that Taylor Swift is trying to control the optics around this situation.
All of this reminds us why Taylor Swift was dubbed the carbon queen by the internet last year. She was the world's most carbon-polluting celebrity of 2022, according to a study that went viral last year. That report, based on its estimations on Jack Sweeney's celebrity jet social media account, and the conclusion that the singer generated over 8,000 tons of carbon emissions, tarnished Swift's reputation. Excuse the pun. Her moving back and forth because of her relationship to a certain football star hasn't helped either. She's used up the same amount of energy as 17 households. But surprisingly, she didn't make the new naughty list, which is out now. The website My Climate Tracker has been cautiously noting every time the uber wealthy posted air miles. And according to them, rapper Travis Scott is the world's top polluter. He took 137 flights in his private jet and generated 6,000 tons of carbon emissions. Not far behind is Kim Kardashian with over 5,800 tons. And following them is a long list of billionaires and celebs, all producing CO2 worth somewhere between 2 and 4.5 thousand tons each. This doesn't let Taylor off the hook, however, especially if she's flying from Tokyo to catch the Super Bowl in Vegas, a trip that would emit 14 times the average Americans travel in a whole year. Meanwhile, celebrities' PR agencies have been busy playing down such lists by telling us their clients buy carbon offsets, a vague term that makes it sound like they care and are actively doing something about it. But are carbon offsets really the solution?
Corporations and wealthy individuals can actually buy their way out of polluting the planet. Let's say there's a corporation, let's call it TS Enterprises. TS Enterprises wants to put on a big concert. They'll put together an estimate of how much environmental impact that concert is going to have. Then they'll go to a company selling carbon credits and say, hey, we estimate that this concert's going to emit about 1 million tons of carbon into the atmosphere. We'd like to buy 1 million carbon credits from you and call it even. The carbon credit company will do things like plant trees or sequester carbon from the atmosphere in the hopes of offsetting all the damage being done. The carbon credit company says, yep, sounds good, and they all go to bed happy at night, except of course for the planet, which continues to burn because you can't math yourself out of climate change.
Okay, so if you think celebrities' private jet use is controversial, now get this. As if the words overweight baggage don't cause enough stress and embarrassment for holiday makers, a Finnish airline is now inviting passengers to step on the scales too. Finnair has introduced a voluntary weighing-in policy at Helsinki Airport. The initiative aims to assess the weight of both passengers and their hand luggage before departure to ensure aircraft safety. Collected data, which will be kept anonymous, will be processed by the Finnish Transport and Communications Agency for aircraft balance and loading calculations. Finnair's decision follows similar actions taken by other airlines such as Korean Air, Hawaiian Air, and Air New Zealand. While over 600 volunteers have participated so far, the policy has faced criticism for potentially discriminating against overweight passengers, with some seeing it as body shaming. Others describe the move as draconian. AI-generated robocalls that mimic people's voices are now illegal in the U.S. The Federal Communications Commission is cracking down on the technology they believe could undermine election security and increase fraud. The ruling comes after a fake call imitating President Joe Biden told voters to stay home during a recent primary election. The FCC says the voice cloning tech is increasingly being used by scammers. Some are tricking consumers and extorting money from family members by mimicking the voice of a loved one in danger. The new rules come into effect immediately. Companies that use AI voices for advertising face fines, and telephone companies that carry the calls can be blocked. Since you can't believe everything you see online, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads will soon introduce labels for AI-generated images. In the coming months, parent company Meta will roll out a detection and labeling tool on its platforms that we'd like to think looks something like this, which will identify images made by AI generators like DALL-E and Midjourney. The social media giant, however, says its tool won't work for video and audio, despite these being the most deepfake content online. The AI labels come in response to recent criticism by Meta's own oversight board, calling its manipulated media policies incoherent after a doctored video of U.S. President Joe Biden went viral. Meta had decided against removing the faked video because it didn't violate its policies on manipulated content. While social media users have welcomed Meta's move to label AI-generated posts, many in the industry say the measure isn't enough to combat the massive deluge of manipulated content online. Adam Hadley is the founder of UN-backed initiative Tech Against Terrorism. He told us platforms now face an uphill battle as manipulated content nowadays looks so real that it's hard for sites' automated systems to detect what's fake.
Worryingly, the countermeasures are somewhat behind the offensive measures, if that makes sense. In the long run, we believe that generative AI will provide great capability to improve content moderation, but it's not there uniformly. There's a fundamental challenge here that if we're saying that fake content is going to become impossible to detect because it's going to become so ubiquitous and the quality of this is going to become so high, I think we have to be careful about the idea that we need to remove all of this material. And certainly, if it's possible for users and the community to label this material, that might be an effective way to kind of crowdsource this, because ultimately I think it's going to be very hard to remove all of this material because it's going to be very difficult to determine whether it's fake or not. Automated approaches are very important, as well as ensuring that there's a really good feedback loop so that users can report material that looks suspicious and ideally flag it. I also think by keeping up material, as long as it's very clearly flagged and put in the right context, is good because it means that users can become better informed about what to look out for. Whereas if this is completely removed, it's then quite hard to provide that feedback to the community.
Football's Africa Cup of Nations comes to its conclusion this weekend. As with every AFCON, the colors, the energy, and the passion have been abundant. It's a tournament that brings together the entire continent, and many travel to the Ivory Coast to support their teams. Among those fans are two cyclists from Benin who stopped off during their tour around the whole of Africa.
Aquaball Cycle Trip, let's ask! Alors nous avons décidé de parcourir Cotonou, passant par le Togo, le Ghana et arriver en Côte d'Ivoire à vélo. Alors c'est quoi exactement le projet? Le projet ça s'appelle Aquaball Cycle Trip et pour nous c'est une initiative qui vise à faire le tour de l'Afrique à vélo. Pourquoi à vélo? Moi je trouve que le vélo c'est un moyen assez spécifique. Non seulement c'est écologique, mais ça vous permet de vous entraîner physiquement. Pourquoi faire le tour de l'Afrique? Là, c'est là se trouve la vraie question. Je pense qu'on nous a présenté une image de l'Afrique que moi j'aime pas beaucoup, où il y a des gens qui souffrent, où il y a c'est la misère. Je pense que c'est pendant longtemps on nous a montré ça. Moi étant africain, ayant voyagé un peu en Afrique, c'est pas que ça. C'est vrai qu'il y a des milieux, voilà. Il y a des gens qui souffrent effectivement, mais c'est pas que ça. Il y a aussi du beau, il y a aussi voilà, il y a aussi de l'hospitalité en Afrique. Il y a tellement de choses en Afrique qu'on n'a pas mis en avant, que les gens pensent que l'Afrique, voilà, les gens souffrent. Et nous, à travers ce voyage, on se dit, ok, en tant que créateur de contenu, voilà, on va aller apporter cette nouvelle image-là et on va essayer de montrer l'Afrique.
C'était pas facile. Et, au début, il y a le fait que le corps n'était pas habitué à ce genre d'épreuves. Mais le mental a pris le dessus, la volonté de s'affirmer et de faire sortir sa fierté a fini par prendre le dessus, ce qui a fait que en route, les rencontres et la manière dont les gens sont fiers de nous voir relever le défi, nous surpasser, cela nous a conduit à une réussite, je vais dire. Ça a fait que cela a atténué les douleurs, voilà.
Tracy Chapman has driven a fast car to the top of the charts after her recent Grammys duet with country singer Luke Combs.
You got a fast car. Is it fast enough so we can fly away? We gotta make a decision. Leave tonight or live or die this way.
And Chapman's 1988 hit is a hit all over again. The iconic track sped to the top of the iTunes chart. Streams have more than tripled, and according to Billboard, digital sales are up 38,000%. Fast Car had already been undergoing a resurgence after Combs' cover of the song dominated country music charts last year. But Chapman's Grammy duet with Combs has accelerated it to even greater speeds. Wonderful song. And we'll leave you with the original music video of Tracy Chapman's Fast Car back from 1988. Enjoy the track and see you soon.
So I remember when we were driving in your car. Speed so fast, I felt like I was drunk. City lights lay out before us, and your arm felt nice wrapped around my shoulder. And I had a feeling that I belonged. I had a feeling I could be someone, be someone, be someone. You got a fast car.